So I guess since it's already 20 after, we can get into it. Do you want to try to do the intro this time? Or a intro?
No, you're the guy.
I'm the guy. How am I the guy? I'm the guy. All right. So everybody, welcome to Off the Crypto Cuff. No, just a roundtable conversation between friends. So welcome to the conversation. Add any constructive criticism, comments, helpful hints, links, in the comments below, please. So it's been a crazy 2 weeks.
How so?
Well, let's just start off with, I guess, a little bit more interesting news. So apparently, you know how there's a narrative between each cycle. You sound that you almost looked confused by that.
So you mean a narrative, like things come out in the news that seem to like change things, that make things go up or down, and
right
in the market. Yeah.
So we're getting into the stage, and this is actually where I think we're hitting maturity, because this is where this stage where a lot of people are talking about real world assets and tokenization of RWAs, is what they're calling them, onto blockchains. So in that's where I sent you that link. Artex has ETF shares of BlackRock. Well, they tokenized those real world assets onto Hedera Hashgraph. Now, Hedera almost doubled in price. It went up to 19 cents right now. So they crashed back down to 10 cents. Well, when the news came out, a lot of people were saying that there was a partnership between BlackRock and Hedera. Well, not quite. So Artex is a London-ish, exchange, taking assets that they have, and I'm sure BlackRock was involved or had to authorize this tokenization. But there is no direct relationship between BlackRock and Hedera. The relationship is between Artex. So basically, that's the boil down of the conversation. But with this, it's like when you're talking about RWAs, there's a company associated with Algorand called Lofty. And Lofty is trying to tokenize the ability to rent properties. And they already finished tokenizing their first property in New York, and apparently it's farmland.
Oh, interesting.
And basically, it allows people like us to invest into rentable properties, and will automatically start getting dividends off of that investment.
So is it like a partial, like you're getting like
partial ownership?
Partial, okay. Yeah. Just like any token, if you can't afford the entire token. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. There's I'd have to look them up. Crypto Casey actually brings this company up a lot, and I can't remember the name. And they're also an interesting one because they've been doing real world assets for a long time. And this is a clearinghouse or auction house. And what they do is that they actually vet items as they come in. They tokenize those items and fractionalize those tokens. They're NFTs. And then you buy into them at a fixed price of what did they think the current value of that item is. And then when the item finally goes to market and sell at auction, you get basically the slice of what the sell price was. So ultimately, the goal is that the price is going to go up because it's art that we'll never be able to afford. I mean, you're talking like multi-million-dollar pieces of art. Mint condition baseball cards, back from the 80s, right? It's like
right.
signed
you're getting a piece of the
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was kind of, well, not really. I was gonna say that was kind of the thing behind oh man, I can't think of it right now. The rush of getting in those like pictures and things that people were doing.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yeah. Yep. So kind of the whole thing.
And that was kind of like the last cycle's narrative, I think, was the NFTs. no, Web3 gaming. That stuff has not gone away. It's still around. It's just not the narrative.
Yeah, true. That was the one thing I thought for sure with NFTs would be huge when it comes to the video game demographic. Everybody that plays video games, because you'd be able to use those NFTs in the games and stuff like that. But it seems like it's not. I don't know, or maybe it's not mainstream. I haven't been paying attention to it. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it's taken off the way I thought it would. Just in that part.
There's definitely, hold on, but how to phrase this? No, kind of like some bulwark against it. Yeah. No, because like one of the biggest distributors, and when I say big, I mean I'm talking one of the biggest distributors of video games digitally, is Steam. And they're owned by Valve, and their boss. Oh, why am I suddenly brain farting his name? I'm not going to bring and look it up. Somebody can post it in the comments. But what is it? Gabe Newell. But
yes, Gabe Newell. No.
Well. Oh, so you looked it up.
Yeah.
See, I got it. But yeah.
Support.
but he basically came out and said that there will be no blockchain games on Steam.
Interesting.
He came up with a hard stance on it. Now, this was a few years ago now. So whether or not he changes his stance, it's not hard to say. But but the thing is, though, is that he also came out very recently and said that he's trying to find ways of preventing games from being deployed on Steam that use AI generated content, whether that's storylines, graphics, or anything else, because he is definitely trying to protect his marketplace.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think he's kind of hurting it because of a lot of these innovations, so there's where that, pushback, from the big people are coming from. So that means that these indie developers that are trying to innovate in this Web3 space with, smart contracts, NFTs, they might not necessarily have a marketplace to go to. In other words, it's like kind of like the luck of the draw being found or discovered.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was like the whole thing with the Knights thing we were doing, right? That was kind of it was kind of their own game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, that's kind of fizzled out, I feel like.
They moved. Well, they didn't move, but they are cross-chain developing. I think they're slow rolling some of their Harmony stuff, but they moved over to Polygon, so they're on both chains.
Yeah. Well, I remember when they did that. It just seems like it still, it's kind of drudging through the mud right now. I feel like it's not nothing's happening.
Well, a lot of that has to do with the marketplace and consumer interest. If consumer interest is not there, it's really hard to remain profitable.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you keep people interested? And then, so another story that I saw kind of recently. Now, this one, I would say I try to verify some of this. So, and given about 30 minutes of doing searching, so I didn't do a deep search. I wish I had, had time to really search, Twitter and all this stuff. But the CEO of BlackRock, again, name.
The names are hard.
I know. Larry Fink.
Okay.
It was right there. So apparently, and I'm trying to be careful about how I say this, but apparently he is not pro-democracy at all. Now, granted, I was putting some thought about this, is that No, well, we are, the United States is not a democracy. We are a constitutionally limited republic, or at least that's what we're supposed to be. You know, we have democratic features, but we're not a democracy, regardless of how certain politicians want to phrase what we are. It's just not true. No, there. But Larry Fink was quoted as saying, which I can't find this quote, which is kind of hard, but basically, it's was the equivalent of uh, the markets fare poorly in and around democracies because of how chaotic they are. Well, it's just like, if you're a political elite sitting at the top trying to make money, yes, the wisdom of the crowd or even the stupidity of the crowd is going to make things chaotic, and you could end up losing money in those situations. But if you have a crap ton of slaves, you're going to be making money hand over fist.
Right.
You know, it's just like, I mean, those are the alternatives. And I was like, no, it's like, I don't like that. It's like, that's why I had to put some research into this one. And it's like, I couldn't find it. And I'm like, it's like, I can't put this one in, into stone, but there's always this like, air of mistrust when it comes to BlackRock and everything that I've seen so far. And apparently the other half of this story is, there's actually a lot of ETFs that were done in other nations, and those ETFs, they allow cash out in two options. Either you can get your Bitcoin from the ETF, or you can get the cash equivalent for that the currency of that nation. That's actually cool. BlackRock, on the other hand, in their terms of service, explicitly state that they only do cash out, that they own the Bitcoin. So by having this ETF, they're actually crowdsourcing the purchasing or the maximization of the amount of Bitcoin they can purchase. So basically a way of being able to control the market and get the funding to do it without having to dive into your own pockets.
Yeah.
The kind of the reason why this whole story comes up and back to real world assets is, again, I tried to find an article. I need one. I would like to read it. That they're trying to do a private blockchain to do tokenized assets. So this is one of the largest investment firms that does have ties to JP Morgan, which has ties to the Federal Reserve. So if they start tokenizing onto a private blockchain, that's centrally controlled, which means it's permissioned. Right? We're trying to get to a permissionless society. In other words, more free flow of money, for a more free flow of assets is a word, but wealth and wealth generation. Yeah. And it's just like, you have money, but money used to be wealth. Money divorced itself from wealth a long time ago, as soon as you ended up with the pure fiat currencies. Now you have money on one side and then you have wealth on the other. Those are two completely different things.
Well, okay, now explain that. Like, how are they different?
So back in the early 1900s, basically, and prior in history, at least for the United States, we had a gold-backed currency. More technically, we had a dual-backed currency because there was actually a dual competing standard. And from some of the reading that I've done, that was the problem. And that could have been fixed easily by Congress. So basically, you had gold at a fixed price and silver at a fixed price. I think it was like an ounce of gold was $25. I think somebody can correct me, and an ounce of silver was $1. So basically, the things is that these are mined materials, which means you have to expend manpower. Basically you have to spend labor to bring it.
Money.
Exactly, you have to bring it out of the earth. It costs money,
Yeah.
between the land and everything else. Now the thing is, though, is that supply and demand is like sometimes there was a lot more gold in supply than there was silver, which means that silver at that time would actually be valued higher. So that means that I could actually get more bang for my buck by spending my silver, and then I hold on my gold. That's where the gold hoarding comes in. And then vice versa would happen, where there's actually less silver in the market and more gold. I mean, or more stuff. The inverse would happen.
Right.
So, and then people would actually start hoarding the silver and then spend the gold. So this actually caused, chaos in the markets. It was really hard to predict what people were going to do, but it was actually kind of a good thing because people were still behaving in their own best self-interests and spending in the way that made the most sense for them. Then you introduce in around 1913, the Great Depression, and then the introduction of the Federal Reserve. That's where the money confiscation happened, and then we ended up on a fractional system. So you still kind of had what would be considered a currency because it was still technically backed by gold, but there could be more dollars or more cash in circulating than what the government actually had. Then you fast forward to the 1970s, and then what happened there? The French was like, well, there's no way the United States has this much gold. They called our bluff, and then Nixon basically closed the gold window and then completely divorced the dollar with the actual currency. See, it was the gold that was the currency. It was gold that was the asset. The dollar, or basically this promissory note. I mean, pull out a dollar, and then it says note on there. That just means promissory note.
Right.
They promise you the value that's listed.
Yeah.
Well, we've experienced the inflation, and the promise really doesn't mean much because the promise is that their goal is 2% inflation every single year. That means that the dollar loses 2% of its value every single year. There's no real promise there. It's a lie. So that's what I mean. It's just like it is a money, but it's not an asset. It's not considered wealth. So the sooner you can get your money into an asset or some form of wealth, something that appreciates, either maintains or appreciates its value over time, is wealth.
Yep, I gotcha.
It's a long story to get to your answer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I picked it up. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be some historian that's going to be correcting me, in the comments, but it's fine. He's like, here's the dates, and he got this wrong. It's like, yeah, okay. I was like, it's my summary.
Come on the show.
It's what I remember. So
right.
Yeah, a really good book on the subject is A Creature from Jekyll Island.
Okay. I struggle with reading. Not because I can't read, but because I just fall asleep reading. It's definitely a good tool to make me fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a little snippet in my email about the whole X thing with Elon Musk and the peer-to-peer payment stuff. It was like I think it was more so an investment thing, but I was like, oh yeah, there was that whole thing going on. He was planning to do that this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see where it's happening yet, because he said mid 2024, which we're pretty close there.
Isn't that somewhere between like June and July-ish?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close. It's April, almost May. So yeah, I haven't seen anything since back in January published about it. So I don't know. What is this? Is this so X is going to be like the replacement of? He's trying to replace like PayPal or something like that, but using crypto. Is that the way I understand it? Is that right? Much
that's been a rumor for a long time. Some people said that it was going to be Doge. It's just like
right.
God only knows. I mean,
Right.
you know.
Well, I just want to do. I mean, honestly, it makes more sense that they would create their own coin versus, but also at the same time, he has enough money where he could buy somebody and build off of that versus just starting from scratch. Which I guess that's where Doge could come into play or some other one.
Well, the thing is, though, is it's that if you build one on of your own from scratch, you definitely raise the ire of the SEC because they're getting sue happy.
Right.
The makers of MetaMask actually have a Wells notice against them right now.
Yeah.
So it'd actually make more sense for them to actually just say base chain. In other words, go direct peer-to-peer payments using Bitcoin through their site, or Doge or something else. And since you're going through their site, so maybe it's like a tipping service. In other words, you are following a creator through X or something like that, then you can actually send them a tip. And by using X for that transaction, one, you know exactly who you're sending them to sending it to. It's verified because they have their blue check marks and all of the other crap that I'm not into at the moment. But but they could actually take a piece of the transaction fee as it goes through. So basically, they're a processor in the middle. Do you need a processor in the middle with crypto? No. But, having a verified account done, because from my understanding, I could be wrong, to get that blue check mark is not easy. He actually made it really hard to get it, which means that those people are verified, which means that just if you go and see that this person has a tip me with crypto link, that they're going to get it. It's not just going to be some random person, like hacked an account or, it's like, and then put in their own address. It is that person you're sending to. So let's say it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen another.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, as I see it, is also with this, what he's trying to do, the peer-to-peer stuff, is, now we have PayPal and, there's so many other ones now. There's Zelle, there's Venmo, everybody uses.
Yeah.
But the problem with all that now is the government put on there, if you got to have a 1099 out of that. And it's, yeah, I mean, this happened last year. I remember having a 1099 from like Venmo, and having to put it on your taxes. And it's like now that, and it was, I believe it was like the threshold. I want to say, I could look it up real quick.
What is it, like $500? It's something ridiculous.
Like $100 or more, and you're having to get a 1099, and it's like, well, I'm already getting taxed on that money. Like, it's my money, and I'm giving it to somebody else because like we split a bill, or we went out to dinner or something, or out for drinks or something like that. And it's like now all of a sudden I'm being taxed on that money that I'm like already being taxed on again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I don't know, like this is another, I don't know if that's why he was doing it, why he decided to do this, because he's trying to get away from that whole, the government with the hand in it.
But, well, that turns into another problem though.
What's that?
That turns into another problem though, because it's like if he's the man in the middle, he's a public technically they're private, so they're not a publicly traded company, but they operate within the United States. Mm-hmm. I do believe they're headquartered also in the United States, which means that they still have to deal with the corporate tax. Now, I don't know how much regulation there would be, but I would assume that once you get into the payment space, you would actually fall under some regulatory authority. And once that happens, the fact that he's a man in the middle, because he'd have to make money off those transactions, that he would have to follow those exact same rules that Venmo and everybody else is.
I don't know. Maybe that's not what the plan is. They're not planning to take any money from it. I mean, peer-to-peer means it's like the peer-to-peer music back in the day.
You would hope that's what that means.
To me, that's what it means. It's like I am directly giving you money, and we are making a connection between the two of us and transferring.
I would hope that's what that means. But we're living in the day and age where you have where free range chickens are still not necessarily free range, and you have to look for the pasture grazed. Because people can actually find the loopholes and the regulations.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, I agree with that. But
yeah, I mean, it's just like this is government we're talking about. It's just like, hey, it's peer to peer. But we're still, the transaction processor handling the transaction, right? It's just like
Napster.
Napster was awesome back in the day.
That's what I think of when I think of peer to peer. It's like the first thing. Yeah.
Yep. Dating yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's all right. Well, I'm pretty much done here with my drink.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done with mine.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess that's where we sign off.
Yep. That was pretty much it for another episode.
Well,
all right.
Us.
Go ahead.
Yep. We're signing off.
All right. Night.